I honestly don't even know where to begin. I feel like this shouldn't be a video. I feel like this should be common sense. I feel like everyone should unanimously agree about this topic of discussion. But somehow we live in a world where that's not what's happening. Somehow we live in a world where when a man says that he is interested in a 15-year-old girl, 16-year-old, like that makes that any better. But a grown man at the age of 25 says that he's interested in a 16-year-old, we come to his defense. We live in that kind of world. Like, how are you so delusional as a GOT7, Bambam, I don't even know what the fan base is called, fan, that you cannot see that this is so problematic? Like, what is wrong with you? For those of you who are unaware, there is a video resurfacing on the internet. I think the video is about a month or two old, where it's a clip from Bambam's own variety show where he's talking about his ideal types. The video is essentially a discussion with this YouTuber, and they're, just going back and forth. It's like any other variety show. They're talking about random things, and they start talking about ideal types, and this man literally says that the 16-year-old girl is his ideal type. I don't even know how someone can defend that. Like, I just don't understand how someone can defend that. But before sharing more opinions on this, I think I've already shared too many opinions, but sharing opinions on this, I think we should go through the entire bit of what happened in the video, the conversation, because this is everyone's justification, right? Everyone's like, it's a 5-second clip that is being taken out of context. Let's give this context. Let's start the discussion from where it started. So he's with this YouTuber, they're sitting there, they're talking, and he suddenly brings up that he has been a fan of Taeyeon from Girls' Generation since 2010. He starts the conversation, he initiates this topic of discussion, and he mentions how he's been a fan of her since 2010. Now, if you know anything about him, you know that he regularly mentions this, so there's like a lot of content of him mentioning being a huge fan of Taeyeon, and in that conversation, he again regularly mentions how he, or used to mention at least, that she is his ideal type. She's the kind of woman he would want to date. She's the kind of woman he would want to get married to, yada yada. He talks about her in a romantic sense, and that is how the conversation begins. He begins by talking about this woman that he has talked about for years now being his ideal type, and then follows it up with that he is currently a fan of 2 other people at the moment. Pay attention to that. He starts off this conversation by talking about Taeyeon, who he has for years talked about being his ideal type, and then leads that into other people that he's currently fans of. And he says that he's a fan of 2 people at the moment. Before he even names them, he feels the need to kind of correct himself by saying that this is not, anything other than just fan admiration. I admire these 2 people as fans, which is okay. They get that. But the fact that you feel the need to mention it so prominently feels like an overcompensation on your part, bro. Just saying. But anyway, he emphasizes on the fact that people shouldn't misunderstand, and that these are just 2 people that he's fans of, and he then adds that the 2 people are Winter of aespa and Haerin of New Jeans. Now, I get that Winter is she's a lot younger than him. She's significantly younger than him, and you can have your own opinions about that. You can have your own opinions about age gaps. I personally think it's creepy, but you don't have to think that. You're entitled to your own opinion about it. She's an adult woman, okay? If he wants to admire her, that's fine. But in the same conversation, he is talking about a 16-year-old girl. Not just any 16-year-old, probably the 16-year-old of one of the most exploited groups at this point, New Jeans. The whole conversation around New Jeans is so inappropriate. so inappropriate. That's a whole other conversation on its own. But in this moment, he mentions these two women, and he also, in what seems like an attempt to overcompensate even more, talks about how their music heals him and he enjoys the music that both these groups create, and because of that he's fans of these two women. Apparently Black Mamba heals him. Can we let that snake out on him? But yeah, he talks about that. He talks about how he enjoys their music. He talks about how the music heals them. He also, when talking about Winter, talks about how he's attracted to women who have bobs. Just a general conversation. So far, it's pretty simplistic. If he did just say this much, I don't think anyone would be as mad as they are. And I wish he would have stopped here, but it doesn't. Him saying that he's a fan of Haerin of Eugene's is not a problem. What comes after is the problem. So he then himself suggests that they play a game called i-dle type World Cup. I don't even know what that is, but from the video I watched and watched the way they played this game, it just seems, first of all, so juvenile. Like, you know how people want to play truth and dare in high school? That's literally the vibe that this grown 25-year-old man is giving off at this moment. But yeah, he suggests that they play i-dle type World Cup, and he asks the guest that has come her preferences first. So he gives her like 2 options and he's asking her to choose and stuff. And then she asks him who he would pick between someone called Haerin and someone called Niziu. So I don't know who these women are. Hopefully they're of appropriate age. But he's asked to pick amongst the two, and he picks Niziu. And when he picks Niziu, the guest on the show is kind of taken aback and says, "Oh, you don't like Haerin that much? Why haven't you picked her? She's not nice to you or something." And his response to that is, "When I think of her more like a sister." And that should give you enough indication into what conversation they're having. Like, if he says he didn't pick the other girl because she feels like a sister, the comparison to that with why he picked the other girl is because she doesn't feel like a sister. She feels like someone whom he would want as like a girlfriend or a romantic interest or something. And this is the conversation that they build on when this woman keeps asking him to pick between 2 people. And because he picked Niziu, she then asks him to pick between Niziu and Haerin. And he, being the disgusting person that he is, chooses the 16-year-old girl. Now, should that woman have had the gall to put a 16-year-old in the conversation of i-dle types to begin with? Absolutely not. That's so creepy. Why are you talking about a 16-year-old as grown adults as someone's romantic interest? That is just red flags everywhere. That's literally what this is. And he literally could have picked the other girl because he picked her previously, but he picks the 16-year-old. And like a reflex reaction, he follows it up with, "Oh, she's too young." And obviously I don't speak Korean. The entire interview conversation variety content is in Korean, but the translation for it is provided by him and his team. The translation is given by his team. This is a variety show that he runs on his YouTube channel. And that translation directly translates it to, "Yes, she's too young right now." Right now. You know what that tells me? That tells me if there wasn't any, negative connotation around him dating a 15-year-old, he would date the 15-year-old. If the age of consent was 13 or 12, I think it is in Thailand, and that's where he's from, so maybe that's why he thinks this type of conversation is okay. But this is literally what it tells me, that if the age of consent was low, he would have gone ahead and tried to, approach this girl or be dating someone who's 15. And that should be the biggest red flag to unstand someone like him immediately. Like, I don't understand how disgusting men like him continue to have a platform in K-pop. Like, look at what's happening with Sungri. Like, he's literally roaming the streets freely. People are talking about his relationship like it's normal. Like, this man wasn't just involved in one of the biggest sex scandals to come out of South Korea. The way people don't have any issue with YG being around 13-14-year-old girls creating a new group when he was involved in the Burning Sun scandal. Like, I don't understand why people don't feel the need to protect these young women. And what do you mean? What do you mean that this is just as a fan, this is just me being, you know, I like her as a fan, I'm not trying to be creepy. You started this conversation by talking about Taeyeon, whom you've been talking about as your ideal woman for years now. Where did you think this would lead? And this is just so inappropriate. He then tries to keep defending his actions by saying it's a fan. Like, 2 seconds ago you were picking another woman over the other one because you felt like she was a sister. What are you trying to do? You know, it's sad to see people get away with stuff like this. It's sad to see him not being held accountable, his fans pretending like this is okay, and then his company has the audacity to literally say that they're going to start suing people for being malicious commenters. Like, I'm sorry, he is the malicious commenter in this situation. He is the one who should be shut up, not people who are justifiably angry at the situation and are giving him the backlash that he deserves for this situation. The whole New Jeans situation just keeps getting worse. Honestly, if you haven't been able to figure out why minors shouldn't debut in K-pop by now, you are honestly part of the problem. And literally like a week or two ago, there were all these articles talking about, oh, how she has the ideal body and how she's body goals. Like, why are you fetishizing the body of a 16-year-old girl? She's not even finished developing. Oh, this conversation's literally giving me a headache. But cancel Bambam. That's all I'm gonna end with. This man needs to be jailed. Okay, bye.